You found your way to Whispers of Crimes, a quiet corner where the shadows of the past are gently told. Here, we speak of real crimes and mysteries, not to shock or scare, but to wonder, to reflect, and maybe to help you fall asleep. So close your eyes, let your thoughts slow down, and come with me into tonight's case. It was May 14th, 2008, a typical spring evening in western Minnesota. For 19-year-old Brandon Swanson, it was a small celebration. He had just completed spring semester at Minnesota West Community and Technical College in Canby, where he studied wind energy, an emerging field that excited him. Brandon wasn't a wild kid. He was thoughtful, responsible, and close with his family. That night, like many young adults in rural towns, he bounced between gatherings with classmates and friends. Witnesses said he had a few drinks but didn't appear drunk or impaired. There was nothing out of the ordinary until everything changed. Chapter 1. I Can See You. The confusing phone call around midnight, Brandon decided it was time to head home. His destination was his parents' house in Marshall, about 30 miles away. He got in his Chevy Lumina and drove into the darkness. Rural Minnesota is vast and quiet at night. Miles of gravel roads, farmland, and ditches, barely lit by the moon. No streetlights. No real landmarks. At approximately 1:15 a.m., Brandon's car became stuck in a shallow ditch. He wasn't hurt. The car wasn't damaged. He did what any rational teenager would do. He called his parents, Brian and Annette Swanson, for help. Brian and Annette responded immediately. Brandon told them he thought he was near Lind, a small town just a few miles southwest of Marshall. He gave them directions, and Brian got in the car and drove out to pick him up. Brandon stayed on the phone as they both tried to locate each other. What followed was a 47-minute phone call that grew increasingly frustrating and strange. Brandon insisted he could see their headlights. He told his dad to flash the lights, to honk. But the Swansons didn't see anything. They drove up and down the roads near Lind, scanning the ditches, calling his name. Brandon remained calm, logical, and cooperative. He didn't sound panicked. He didn't sound drunk. He truly believed he was near Lind. At some point, Brandon decided to walk toward a town he saw in the distance, believing it to be Lind, while staying on the phone. He mentioned passing fences, hearing running water, and walking along a gravel road. His last words before the line suddenly cut off were haunting. Oh, *T. And just like that, the call ended. The Swansons tried calling back dozens of times, but there was no answer. It was like he had vanished into the dark. Chapter 2. Where's Brandon? The Swansons searched for Brandon on their own throughout the night. They retraced their route, called his friends, and drove miles of gravel roads in every direction. At sunrise, with no sign of their son, they contacted law enforcement. But the police didn't respond with urgency. Brandon was 19, an adult. The assumption was that he had wandered off, maybe to cool off, maybe to crash at a friend's place. Officers reportedly told the Swansons that Brandon had the right to be missing. It took nearly a full day before authorities finally began a formal search. When they did, investigators discovered something deeply puzzling. Brandon's phone had pinned a tower near Porter, Minnesota, far from Lind and a different county. He hadn't been near where he said he was. He was over 25 miles away, near Taunton. Brandon had been completely disoriented, believing he was near one town while actually in another. The realization was chilling. He had been walking alone, in total darkness, thinking help was nearby when in reality, he was far from anyone who could find him. Chapter 3. The car and the river. Brandon's Chevy Lumina was eventually found off Lincoln County Road 6, about a mile north of Taunton. The car was slightly stuck in a ditch, but otherwise undamaged. No signs of foul play. No broken glass. Nothing in disarray. Just an abandoned vehicle in the middle of nowhere. Cadaver dogs and search teams were brought in. They picked up Brandon's scent, leading away from the vehicle and down a long gravel road. The trail crossed fields, passed through groves of trees, and led to the banks of the Yellow Medicine River. It looked like he had walked for nearly 2 miles. At the river's edge, dogs showed heightened interest. Some interpreted this as Brandon possibly entering the water. But here's the strange part. If he drowned, why was there no trace of him? The river isn't particularly wide or deep. Authorities used sonar, divers, and aerial surveillance. They searched for weeks. Nothing. No clothing. No body. No cell phone. It was as if the river swallowed him whole, or he got out and kept walking. Chapter 4. So many questions, so few answers. What could have happened after the phone call cut off? Did Brandon fall? Did he encounter someone? Did he suffer from hypothermia or an accident far from where anyone could reach? One leading theory is accidental drowning. The dog trail and proximity to the river seem to support it, but multiple high-tech searches of the Yellow Medicine turned up no evidence. Rivers can be deceptive, but 17 years without discovery is rare. Another theory suggests he might have gotten out of the water and continued on foot, possibly succumbing to the elements or an injury. But again, no remains, nothing. Some have even proposed the possibility of foul play. Could someone have stumbled across Brandon in the early hours of the morning and harmed him? There were no signs of a struggle near the car or along the trail, but rural Minnesota can be isolating. If he did meet someone on those roads, there were no witnesses. And then there's a darker theory. Did Brandon intentionally disappear? His family adamantly denies this. There were no mental health issues, no signs of stress or instability. He was making plans, excited about his future. Ultimately, the truth remains maddeningly out of reach. Chapter 5. Brandon's Law and the Fight for Change. In the wake of Brandon's disappearance, Annette and Brandon Swanson became relentless advocates for change. They faced not only the trauma of losing a son, but the frustration of institutional indifference. That's why they helped pass Brandon's Law in 2009. The law mandates that Minnesota police must file a missing person report immediately upon receiving a complaint, regardless of the person's age. It also requires authorities to begin investigating as soon as the report is taken. No waiting period, no excuses. Brandon's case exposed a critical gap in how missing adults were handled. It forced lawmakers to reckon with a broken system, one that cost the Swansons precious time they'll never get back. Since then, Brandon's story has been featured in documentaries, podcasts, and news specials. His case continues to educate law enforcement and raise awareness for other families in crisis. But awareness doesn't replace answers. Chapter 6. A vanishing that haunts Minnesota to this day. No trace of Brandon Swanson has been found. Every year, his parents hold a candlelight vigil. They keep his memory alive, hoping that someone, anyone, will come forward with a lead, a sighting, a memory, a clue. Brandon would be in his mid-30s now. His room at home remains untouched. His photo-striped shirt, soft smile still hangs in the living room. And every May, the pain returns. His final words, "T, linger in the minds of all who followed the case. What did he see? What happened in that moment? Was it an animal? A fall? A stranger? We may never know." But Brandon's story continues to resonate because it is a reminder. In the age of technology, even with cell towers and GPS, people can still disappear without a trace, without warning. And in that emptiness, families are left not with closure, but with questions that echo into the night. If you have any information about the disappearance of Brandon Swanson, contact the Lyon County Sheriff's Office at 537-7666. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more true mystery stories. What do you think happened to Brandon? Could the river still be hiding secrets, or did he walk into something else entirely? That's all for tonight's story. Another thread in the web of true crime, quietly unraveling as the night goes on. If you're still with me, thanks for listening. And if sleep has already taken you, may your dreams be peaceful and your mind at ease. I'll be here next time by the fire with another story waiting to be told. Good night, and don't forget to lock your doors.